Hello, Consie. Thank you so much for joining me in the Virtual Arts Summit and for this interview today. I am so thrilled to have you here and get to know you better because we really haven't ever met before. So, welcome. How are
Thank you
you
so
doing?
much. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's nice to talk to you and not just follow you.
It's always better when we get to meet people instead of just seeing the feed scroll by.
Yeah.
I'm so excited that you're part of the Virtual Arts Summit. And I just want to say, what really struck me is that you took a chance and reached out to me. Now, I do get requests once in a while, but most of the time people don't have experience. So the fact that you're already an experienced teacher and have a real clear point of view made it like really exciting. Like, this is somebody I really want to work with and get to know. So thank you for taking that chance and that risk with me.
Oh, no problem. I mean, to me, as I shared a little bit before we talked, is that as an artist, we can feel like we're like one in a million. And if we want to get somewhere, we have to stick our hand in the air and reach out and ask. I mean, the worst that can happen is radio silence and you never emailed me back, and then I would have moved on. But, if we don't let people know that that's what we want, then how can they? It's like letting the universe know. You have to tell the universe a little bit about what you want so that it can help you
Right, because
achieve your goals.
I would have never known who you were if you hadn't
Yeah.
reached out. Because, like you said, there's millions, if not more, of us artists
Yeah.
online striving to build,
Yeah.
our visibility, our
Yeah.
feed, our following, our community. And we don't always cross paths, though it's happening more and more. So, yay, we finally got to cross paths, and I get to enjoy your work and have you as part of the summit, which this is our fourth year. And I love doing the summit because one of my favorite things in the world is to bring creative people together in collaboration because I feel like the
Yeah.
world is better for it.
Yeah.
So I would love it if you would share a little about, just your story as an artist, your journey, and where you are now.
Uh, my artist journey. It's been very long. I've been doing art, all my life. I've always seen myself as an artist. I went to school for graphic design. That was not my thing. Yeah, that wasn't my thing. Although it's surprising how much I use it in a day-to-day basis, all the lessons I learned, because you can't be an entrepreneur and not know some graphic design,
Right.
Especially if you're not hiring people. So I started teaching. I mean, I sold at craft shows and painted on products since I was in my early 20s. I'm 53 now, so it's been, a long time. I started teaching in my home studio. I taught toll painting and decorative painting and one-stroke painting all back in the day. And I did that for about 10 years, and I taught hundreds of women. And it was all in person. Like that was not during the time of let's jump on Zoom and let's record a class. That didn't even exist then. So to have that ability now to reach beyond your everyday world has been amazing. So I taught for a long time. And then 2008 hit, which many of us remember as the crash of all crashes. And so I had to pivot, and I pivoted to a different kind of creativity where I started doing face painting. I did face painting and body painting and henna for years at shows, because even if people's economy crashes their everyday world, for some reason, they'll always treat their children to birthday parties and going to the fair, like it was the easy, simple, fun thing to still make life feel enjoyable. So I was able to still make a living doing creativity. It just wasn't in the world that I had come from. So, but all I did was change surfaces. That's how I felt. I was still painting. I just happened to be painting on humans instead of surfaces, like tables and lazy Susans, which is the world I came from. And then from that, I discovered art journaling. I found art journaling through the Documented Life Project. And that was probably the most life-changing art decision or art thing that came across me in my world, because I'm not as much as I spent all those years in craft shows painting on stuff, I'm not a stuff person. So like it got overwhelming. I don't paint on canvases. I just don't. So to find art journaling and realize that all the creativity could be contained on paper in a book, and I could just keep turning the page, was the most freeing thing ever, because it didn't make me feel like I had to go find another surface or paint on all these canvases that sat around, because I don't want to sell in galleries. That was never my thing. But that's what we did. We painted on things. So now I paint in books, and I paint in crappy books because I make my own junk journals and I use cardboard and I don't care. And I just like the idea that I can let my creativity out onto something that's not precious, and it feels the most freeing that way. It just becomes just play, It's just
It's
fun.
liberating. It is
Yeah.
liberating because there is
Yeah.
no end goal other than to enjoy the process.
Right.
How
Just do.
much fun is that?
Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's perfect for our theme of play, which means that you are the ultimate path of play when you're
Mhm.
doing that kind of mixed media in an art journal and all of that kind of chunk journaling and layers and whatever materials you can find. How fun. So once you discovered art journaling, how did that open up for you? What happened after that?
Uh, well, it was in the world of blogging. So so I started, I
I'm
wrote a
from the
blog.
world of blogging
Yeah.
too.
So I wrote a blog for a couple of probably about 3 or 4 years. And I also did, I guess you were on like a creative team for the creative, I'm losing the name, but for one of the stencil companies. Oh, the Crafters Workshop. I was like losing which one it is. So for the Crafters Workshop, I was on their creative team for 2 years. So that was a way to get involved with so many people and learn outside of that. And then I discovered Skillshare and the world of let's film a class and sell it. And so that was the next, like, oh, I can film a class. So that was the next step. And by that
What year
point,
was that when you were showing up on Skillshare?
how was it?
What year was it? Like at
Oh,
what
what year? Oh, I don't know. This had to been, it was at least 8 years ago.
Okay.
It's been a long time. Yeah. I had a few classes on Skillshare, and then things changed with Skillshare, how they were running the platform. And so I ended up moving to make them all my own. And so I pulled them off there and had them all my own. And so, then from there, it was learning to be a part of collaborative classes like this, where someone would have a group of teachers. I got invited to a few of them. And then the pandemic hit and our entire world went online. And that actually was the best thing that happened because I started a free creative playdate almost at the beginning. It was early, probably like February, March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how my business has evolved from there, is like it's happened every month since then. I've never missed one. That's how I've met new people. They've come on. I've gone and done summits and all sorts of things. So it's just the collaborative process to me is where you get to meet so many new people and have connections. The play date for me is my community. So I get to touch base with them once a month. And so that has really been an anchor. I can't even think about stopping it. A lot of people's free things happened during the pandemic and then it just went away because their life didn't support it. And I have made my life continue to support it because they keep showing up. So, when no one shows up, then I will stop. But every month they show back up. So
I love that. So
yeah.
I guess for those of you listening, follow Consie and go find her creative play dates. It's a great way of creating and finding community. And I love that you realize that even as the pandemic has ended, and I'm putting air quotes around, you've just gone on like it's not existing anymore because we're over it. I get it. But we still have an ability to serve the community in ways that we hadn't before because we realized how connected we are. And I agree with you so much on the collaboration. Virtual Arts Summit started that year of the pandemic. I'm like, how can I bring people together? Okay. And I'm keeping the Virtual Arts Summit free for a certain limited amount of time for everyone so that everyone can benefit from it, even if you don't have any income. And it's all the other things that we do in our business that help support us continue to keep free and low cost options open. And so this is how it all goes around. When people support us by buying our courses, it means we can keep free stuff open for more people to enjoy. And I love that there's just this whole beautiful energy that aligns around this, that we, in one way or another, without even realizing it, we're supporting each other when we support artists who are creating courses. So it's like a really, it's a beautiful energy for sure. And I love that you're doing that. And from there, I see that you have more options for courses and more collaborations that you're involved with. I love these kinds of collaborations because it connects us with people we wouldn't have ever known before. Again, like you showing up here and connecting with me, which is just wonderful. So what would you say is like your main draw, like what you're creating now and how people connect with you besides your creative play dates? What do you love to teach is probably what I should ask.
What I love to teach. My core is art journaling. But the concept is always just to play and have fun and experiment and to try and not buy every art supply that like, what do you have? How can you use it in a different way? What simple ways can you just have fun, make a mark, like just make it simple. You don't need, if someone's using pastels, then use crayons. Like, just pick something from your inspiration and don't feel like you need to go and grab all those pastels. Like, maybe the idea of what you love is that they're using pink in their pastels. So what do you have that's pink and that you can draw from? And so not to get so hung up in the details of what brush are you using? Right. What color blue is that? And I'm like, it's blue. One of my favorite comments that people always ask me, I get this request or question a lot, is, what brushes are you using for your watercolor? And I'm like, the dirty one that's in the water. I don't know what it probably just used gesso or acrylic. I don't care. Like, I don't see myself as a purist. If you want to do pure watercolor and learn watercolor from, like from the pure version of it, I will find you that person.
Exactly.
If you want to play with your supplies and make acrylic and watercolor and, wax crayons and whatever, all in the same thing and using the same brushes and they're intermingling and you don't care, then I'm your person, because I just don't care. Like, just try it. And what's the worst thing can happen? That crayon dies. I'm sure there's 3 more behind it that you bought. I'm sure you don't own one. So yeah. So that to me is very much about curiosity and play and just trying. I mean, it is literally paper and paint, and that's it. That when it comes down to it, you're talking about a piece of paper. It can be printer paper, and it can be a pencil, and that's all you need to just get started, just to try.
I find that limited supplies actually make me more creative.
Mm-hmm.
Being resourceful and just using what's on hand really pushes my limits to think outside the box. And then it'll push you to say, what else can this do? How could I create and have so much fun just with a box of crayons, like old school crayons? Like you said, I don't have pastels, but I want to make some marks that might feel like pastels. I love that idea to be resourceful. And I have the exact same questions come up from my students, and I get it. Someone who's really new at it, or they really maybe admire the process that you're doing, and they're like, if only I have those tools, will I be able to create like that? And at some point, people finally break through that and realize it doesn't matter what color blue, or oftentimes they'll ask, like, what are the specific paints you're using? I'm like, just grab yourself a red, blue, and yellow and have some fun. Like, it doesn't matter. What paints are you drawn to? What do you feel like? Like, I can understand, like, if there's like a shade of yellow that you're like, ooh, what is that? I'm like, it's Indian yellow hue. That's my favorite. Okay.
Right.
So I can get it. Like, you might want to know, but if you're wanting to know because you think that having the exact same colors, the exact same brushes, and the exact same materials are going to give the exact same results, then I think you'd be sorely disappointed. You could go to China and study the way they do in China, where everybody does have to create the exact same thing. But that's not what we're about, right? This community and collaboration that we've created, it's about just exploring, having fun, and expressing ourselves with what we have.
Yeah. And also being yourself. Like, part of art journaling to me is about finding out about myself. So that's what I encourage my students to do. I've even told people to judge me. I'm like, I want you to watch what I do and judge it in this way. I want you to judge it and go, I would never have done that. But then I want you to ask the next question. What would I have done? What would I have done differently? Why did I feel like she did that and it bothered me? Like, why did I love what she did? How could I do it myself? So, I'm like, go, and when you watch YouTube videos, a lot of people just look, I would never do that. And they judge you in a, what is she doing, or what are they doing kind of way. But to me, I'm like, I want you to judge it in a way that starts to find out who you are. So if you are like, I would never have covered all that in black, then stop and say, okay, well, what would I have done differently? Would I have not used that black so heavily? Would I have grabbed a paint pen and done some simple marks, as opposed to, grabbing black gesso and scraping the hell out of the painting? So that's how you find your way through it, is to look at someone else's work and find out what you do and don't like about it, and then try it your way, and then, play it your way. And, you can judge me till the cows come home. I cannot change who I am. I am who I am. This is how I play. This is how I sound. I curse a lot. It's just who I am. So, and you can judge me for that, but I want you to judge it in a way that makes you go forward in your work. I want it to be the exploration of the why and why not, and to move forward in your work and find your own way. So
that's really powerful. I love that. And we can really apply that in almost everything in our life, because how we feel about someone or somebody's art or what they're doing is really a reflection of our own belief systems. Right. So if you challenge yourself in every question that you have and in every judgment you have, you're right. You are going to dig deeper into you, especially when you're like, we're all scrolling and like, we'll stop. Why do we stop and love this one? Why do we pass by that one? Or if we're watching a video, you're right. Then when you're like, no, stop there. I loved it right there. Why do we feel that way? Which is what I realize now, that's a really great way of teaching, which is probably why you're working your way towards a new special kind of offer that you're going to be able to hold space for more people in kind of a coaching capacity. Is this?
Yeah, I know. I'm looking for 2023. I'm working towards building a group coaching program. I've had smaller versions in the past, so I'm looking to see if I can expand on it and take what I learned from those kind of groups and just expand on it and teach people either that, I mean, be judgy. I find that to be a very odd way of telling people, but be judgy. But it also is about rekindling or just expanding on your creative practice and how you can do it in a simplified, fun way without this overwhelming, I need to do it every day, I need to do it this way, like how can you find your way through it and allow creativity to just show up in however it shows up. It doesn't have to be touching art every day. Creativity is not about that. Creativity and in its essence is problem solving. So has nothing to do with art. We're the ones that are making it about art, because in our world, that's what we do. We are artists, so we're creative. But everybody is creative. It's just, if you want to find it through art, then that's what I want to help you do. But in a simple way, a fun way, a playful way, not a serious way. This isn't a deep dive into supplies. It's more of a deep dive into all the ways you can bring creativity into your life. So yeah, so that's what I'm working on that. So people can stay tuned and that will come out hopefully by the summertime.
Yes. Good. Yeah, it's a way to keep our hearts, our souls connected to our creative energy, right? And to figure out what that is and how to live in it, to embody it. Like that's what we really want as artists. That's why we came here to make. Because if we are making work for the end product only, we've missed the heart and soul of the whole process, right? So it's like that ability to just express ourselves. And I've been personally missing it so much because I've been so deep in the business for the last 2 years that I realize now that that's what I'm craving. And I'm kind of pulling back on some of the things that I planned in order to make space just for making, for the pure joy of making and experimenting. And I'm making things that I've never made before, and they're not even to show. I think that that's one of the things that I've finally, I know I'm visible all the time. I know I'm teaching, I'm coaching, I'm showing up. So I always have to have something to show. But when I give myself this space to make stuff that I never show anyone, maybe even tear up and throw away, then I have that creative space, that play for myself again. And that's what I'm really encouraging everyone here in the Virtual Art Summit is play. Like we are missing that element of play. Things got very serious during the pandemic. We turned inward a lot. We did work hard to support our family, but there was like this burnout level that was happening by last year. I still feel it. And a lot of times we talk about it and we're like, we're coming out of our shells now. However, I think we've forgotten like the true joy of what, living here on this planet can be. Like, why did we come here in the first place? I think it's joy, it's love, it's fun, it's play. And I know that the world is a serious place. And if we don't have this outlet, I mean, what's the point? So that's why the Virtual Art Summit's all about play. And that's why I'm trying to tap back into it for myself. What would be some of your favorite ways to play? Like we know the purpose of play, but what are some of your favorite ways to play with, obviously in the art world, but if you have any other ideas outside of, making art?
Outside of it.
Either which way.
What
are your favorite ways?
I would say within art, playing is just about, for me, it's just about picking a starting point. It can be just a color, and just explore a color. It can just be, scribbling, like taking all the colored pencils and just scribbling, just make marks. And then they keep building and you keep building. And I think it's hard for me to say what's my favorite way to play because my entire art practice is play. So I start with everything is about just putting something down and reacting to it and seeing what comes. so I, as a whole, my entire practice is about play. It's about making sure that you're choosing, simple things like putting together a cardboard journal that's made of, Amazon boxes, or the cardboard that's in a cat food box or whatever, because it takes that element out. Like, so visual. I'm getting this very weird visual element of kids making mud pies, like it's just mud in a tin pie thing. And that's basically what I'm a cardboard journal and some acrylic paints and maybe a colored pencil, a lot of glue stick and bits of paper. And, there's no planning. I think that's also important with play. If you hand kindergartners a bunch of art supplies, they're not sitting there going, well, let me think about the plan for the day. They're just like glue, slap, put their hands in the paint. So to me, I feel like you need to just tap into that inner child part. There is no wrong thing. That's, if you stop, this is so bizarre, but like, I'm getting like these crazy visuals, Kelly. It's so fun that you're bringing.
Well, mud pie is totally up my alley. I did that as a kid, so I'm like relating to you completely now.
So when I taught toll painting for all those years, toll painting is very specific. Like, you use this kind of brush to make this kind of stroke, and that was definitely like, you take an angle brush and it must be a 1/2-inch angle brush. And then I got into art journaling, and I realized that 9 times out of 10, I didn't pick up a brush. I kept putting my fingers in the bottle. And I was like, I don't understand what is going on. But that was my letting go of the structure of the toll painting, was to, instead of picking up a brush, I just would stick my fingers in the paint and just smear them around. And so I kept bringing myself back to play because the structure had stifled it. So like, that to me is like, what's the play part of that for you? Like, as a child, did you make mud pies? Did you go out with a stick and draw in the sand if you lived at the ocean? And, you were making mandalas all the way back then, or you were doodling if you were just taking a stick and going in the sand and play. I've also done that.
Oh, I was going to tell you, my mother would send us out with buckets of water and brushes, and we would paint everything. And we thought like we were painting, but it was just water, and we were making marks, and then it would dry and we'd do it again. I mean, like, I remember these very like non-specific projects we do. You respond to what you're doing, you just do some more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and if you're talking about just taking your art out into the world, like, I've gone to the beach and grabbed a stick and drawn a mandala on the beach.
Right.
Like, people will think you're crazy and wonder what this woman is doing, but, do that, or go out into the woods and grab a bunch of stones and start, piling them up and make a cairn, or whatever you want to do. Like, that's all play. It's just trying and interacting with the world around you, making mandalas. I love doing mandalas. I love drawing them. They're one of my absolute Zen focus things. I was in a business meeting the other day, and half a mandala came out because that's how I focus. But just to go out into nature and grab a bunch of leaves and put them in a circle and make patterns with them. I mean, that's just play. It means nothing. I will use quotes for that too, because it means nothing as in there's no, other than if you took a photo of it, there's no end result to it other than you went out and did it. And, and then the wind takes it and off it goes, and you can do it again. So.
I love that. That's so exciting. I love how you approach it. It's actually very, very refreshing. You have a very clear point of view, so it really helps me see like what kind of journey your courses and your coaching would take me on. And I can imagine it being very liberating, in all honesty. So that's beautiful. If you could give any one piece of advice to the listeners right now, you've given us a ton of advice, but like something very from Consie's point of view, what could you say before we wrap it up?
Well, I had to give this some thought before for something else, but it was along the lines of just again, we keep coming back to the play, but what came to mind was like, just maybe have a dance party with your art supplies.
Ooh.
Like,
I did that once.
You did?
I did. No, I mean, like, I've probably done it more, but I did it once on camera where I got a really big, like, butcher paper and put it on the wall. And I just danced around and made marks and saw where my body moved. And it was so much fun. I love that.
There you go.
Yeah. Just go on dance and just see where the marks go.
Just see what happens. React to what's happening. I mean, I will challenge anyone to put on ABBA and not be able to, like, you can't sit and listen to ABBA. So, I mean, I don't know, ABBA's not everybody's cup of tea, but put on Dancing Queen, grab a pen or some colored pencils and a piece of paper and just boogie around and come back to your paper and make a mark and see what happens and just try it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You tear it up and glue it into something else. So
or put it in the garbage. Who cares? I mean, it's the process, right?
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. Yeah.
I love it. So everyone who's listening, where are they going to be able to find you online? Of course, we'll link all of this. And by now, everyone should know who you are because hopefully they've already joined the Virtual Arts Summit.
Yeah. My website is called atopserenityhill.com. And I'm mostly on Instagram, which is Consie_atopserenityhill. So those are the best places to find out everything and, join my newsletter and the community hub and everything. That's the best place to find it. So.
That's wonderful. So everyone reach out and tell Consie how much you enjoyed this conversation and which of the ideas she planted in your mind today, even if it's making mud pies, what are you going to do for play? Come back and tell us, please. Thank you so much, Consie. And extremely grateful that you've been part of the Virtual Arts Summit. And how much fun are we having this year?
Oh, it's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited that you had a theme that I'm like all about play.
Yes. Well, of course, that helped it make it really easy to decide you'd be perfect as a guest for this project. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.